mindset about what's right and what's wrong, their opinion based on their knowledge, their information that they've learned, and from their personal experience. And that's, I think, the best. When we talk about unconditional love, or when I talk about unconditional love, because I don't want to speak for other people, what I'm trying to point myself to is allowing that space for not only the collective information that we have as a culture and society, but also our individual awarenesses and information of where we are and where we want to go and what we're open to trying. And it's not a one, becoming a healer or whatever you want to say. We learn all these techniques and these tools and all this stuff, and it's helpful, but it isn't one size fits all. I don't care how great of a Reiki practitioner you are. You're not gonna, that Reiki isn't gonna solve everything. Is it gonna be helpful? Absolutely, 100%. It's gonna help your mind. It's gonna help your emotions. It's gonna help your body. It's a self-care practice. It's like getting a massage, or all these other things that we have and are capable of doing for our health and longevity. And I think it's important to put energy there, and make sure that we're caring for ourselves and not just treating our bodies and our minds and our feelings as machines, and trying to constantly override our intuitive nature of what's coming from the within. And that's hard to teach, because everybody has their own voice and you can't tell them what it sounds like. So you have to be able to become your own friend, and that's through awareness. That's through things like that. And then I think you can peel things off. Some people, they need to have Epsom salt baths every day, and they need to go get their nails done, and they have to do all these things to care for their body and their ego, to make themselves feel good. That's what they need. That's the dopamine that they're chasing. And if that's what they need, then awesome. But if you can do it without it, how fucking awesome is that? That's my opinion. When I became a healer, yeah, I used tools, I used crystals, I used sage, I used feathers, I used all kinds of different things, Misha, and all these various different things, spiritual symbols and stuff like that. Like, I love that stuff. It's fascinating to me, but I've always also wanted to learn how to do it without all of that. Because I think we have the potential to do that. I've seen and I've heard stories of people healing stage 4 cancers just by going to a ceremony. Now, that doesn't work for everybody, but it happened for those individuals. So we can say, hey, these can be helpful, but we can't promise that. We can intend for it to be helpful, but we can't promise the outcome. And that's getting back to the spiritual life, is to honor the process, not the results. The results let you know where you are and aren't in harmony. And where you're growing as an individual in your journey in relation to everything and everyone else. It's not an easy task. It's simple. It's not easy. And that's such a beautiful thing in life, is to realize that is we can live simply. But it's still not going to be easy. And if it's easy, then are we really pushing ourselves to evolve, to grow, to shift into higher frequencies of being human, as a reflection of our spiritual divinity? Because we all came into this world as a spark. When the sperm and the egg come together, there's a spark. The light is within us all. It's created us all. I don't care what you call it. That's through our conversation and our language barriers. But that happened for us. We're here in this existence. Whether you like it or you don't, whether you think it's right or it's wrong, that's part of your walk. That's part of your awareness. And if it's not right for you, what are you doing in your life? Who are you becoming in your life to be that person that you want others to be? Because when you can embody that, then people can have the opportunity to see that and reflect that. When you're in a disagreement with somebody and everybody's yelling back and forth to one another, we're just feeding each other's pain. But when one of us can rise up and just hold space and listen and look for understanding, look for compromises, speak with compassion and empathy, we can transmute those limited challenges that caused us to be in a disagreement in the first place. Because we all want to be happy. We all want to be healthy. We all want to be harmonious. We all want to provide for the future, our children's children's children. That's innately in us. And only through our conditioned selves would we limit that expression out of fear or insecurity. And the more we choose to embrace the unknown, the divine, the feminine energy that swirls and isn't the container like the masculine energy, the more we can enhance our life and the lives all around us. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the compliment. Just doing what I can, and being me as best as I know how until I learn a better way to do it, and then I get to practice that. And I hope that's something that we all can share together. So, Larkin, are you there?
I am. I'm just listening to the brilliance.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, wow, there's so many things from what you've said, and sorry, I was just reading MJ's comment. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to be said there, guys, and awareness is key, and we need to remember that you have to keep it, and this is what I do with my mindset clients, and it works, and you have to, for yourself, keep going deeper down the rabbit hole. It doesn't mean you have to go deeper back the rabbit hole as though you were having a psychiatry session. You have to go deeper down your own hole. In other words, deeper down that hole of self-awareness. Because in self-awareness, you also become aware of the world. In understanding yourself, you learn to understand others. And what we all ultimately want, no matter what it is you're chasing, is we all want to feel secure. So we all want to feel safety. Mm-hmm. We all want to feel at peace. We all want to feel love and joy. Okay, now abundance, some things fall under that. Abundance and love, those all fit under that, category with abundance. But ultimately, what you want is what you already are, which is why when you hear manifesting speakers saying you must become that which you want to manifest, that's true. But think about any and every calls, every broadcast. There we go. You need to think about what is the underlying of those basics underneath everything that you want. If it's a relationship, what are you wanting? For some of you, it's just love and security. If it's, wealth, does wealth bring you peace? Does that bring you security? Is it the security that brings you peace? Is it the joy of what you could do with that money because you want to help others? Is it good health? Maybe you've been struggling with your health, right? We know we have nothing if we don't have our health. So think about and relate to every single thing that you want. And the fact that underneath each of those, there is either, the basics that you want. There's either peace, love, joy, fulfillment, abundance. These are all things that you already are as an eternal being. And you're here to be able to express them in what we call physical form, even though nothing's really physical. There is no physical. We're 99.9% space. So that's one thing. I'm going back in my head over some of the things Chris was talking about. And the other thing is really taking radical responsibility. I loved how I've been talking about this the past week as well with my audiences. When Chris said, if you think Reiki can help you, yeah, it can help you, but it's not the end all. And this is one of my pet peeves. I get so many Reiki practitioners, especially coming to my readings and stuff. And it's always about, but I do Reiki. So I don't know what it is. It's like a cult. We've got to remember that part, the part I don't like, is coming from the marketing. So be very careful to keep what you are doing. Take radical responsibility for what you're doing. Use the things that are there. Is Reiki good? Can it help? Absolutely. But don't tell me you're a Reiki master after 6 weeks, when people used to spend 10 years just getting an apprenticeship, 10 years of 7 days a week, 24/7, living it as a lifestyle. And I can say this because my martial arts teachers lived that type of life and escaped from their countries. So just, if you guys are, there's a couple things I would do. I love to give calls to action. There's a couple things I do. If you guys are really on here and you like this podcast, or maybe you don't, and you want to get serious about whatever it is you're wanting, let go, first of all, of the idea of wanting something. What are you drawn to? What do you know you need first? Some of these things we say we need, do you really need them? Don't confuse your needs with your wants, because the needs have to be taken care of first, right? I find people will go out and buy a pack of cigarettes before they'll spend the money on the healthy food or whatever they needed for their cold. Get right. What you need first, and make sure get to know. This might take you guys a few years. I mean, I still sort it out sometimes. Is this really a need, or is it a want? And then number 2, take radical responsibility. And remember, everything is a choice. You're making you have choices you don't realize you have, because the world and our comrades emphasize that life is happening to us, and it's not. Life is happening. It's happening. And you're an equal participant, and you choose how you perceive it, because, how we experience things, our perception is a choice. But if it's like a muscle, Chris is always talking about these things being like a muscle. If you don't practice it being a choice, which most of us were not raised that way, then you're going to have to start that muscle strength from scratch. But the liberation, the empowerment, the freedom, the lack of feeling stuck that comes from understanding the power of your choice is beyond what you can imagine. And where does that start? With awareness. And I find that quiet time in nature, away from other people and social media, including music, and journaling and talking to nature, that's where greater awareness actually starts. Because as a kid, that's how I maintained mine. Mm-hmm. And then that transformed into journaling, starting to record that, wanting tangible proof of my conversations with my inner self, my guides, nature, the trees. That is actually the reality. That is how the Native Americans lived. And they didn't have the stress and anger, the anxiety that we have.
Not until Our
No,
brothers came over and conquered them, right?
exactly. That's
Told them
right.
their way wasn't the way. Yeah.
It's a way, guys. It's a way of life. And no matter where you are in your life and what's happened, you can implement these things. But please understand, if they don't work this week, or they don't seem to work this month, or the next 3 months, or the next year, most of my coaching clients have to go through a minimum of 1 to 3 years before they see, I see it a lot earlier, major transformation. And if you don't believe me and you think, oh, you're just a crappy coach, well, go look up Dr. Joe Dispenza, because he helps people with what Chris was talking about, transforming their health and well-being from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that it takes a minimum of about 3 years to start to see the major physical benefits of the reverse of disease. 3 years, which is why, they started out with only like 55,000 case studies or something, because people aren't willing to do it no matter what the cost. So just keep in mind, guys, everything's a process, and wherever you are took years to get there. You might think it was one thing. It was when he left me. It was when I lost my job. No, it wasn't. It was COVID. Stop blaming COVID. Oh my God, that wasn't even a bad thing. You guys didn't live through polio.
Right.
You didn't live through, being in Germany during the war. You didn't. To us, maybe that seemed like a big thing. It wasn't. Our biggest thing in my generation was the Twin Towers. I'm not belittling it, guys, but there are people that live through that shit every day, that have known that their entire lives, as though they were living in New York City, with surrounded by family that were in the hospital with things way worse than COVID.
Right.
When my mom was a kid and there was polio, they weren't allowed to see their neighbors or anything. When we were on lockdown, we went everywhere. Went to the park. People got together with friends. We had internet. We really need to get some perspective and just get out of everybody else's lane. Look for what you need. Get your own self-awareness first, because without that, you have nothing. And then find out and try what works for you and give it time. You've got to give it time. And if that makes you feel antsy and anxious, then it's because you've been programmed for it to make you antsy and anxious. And, bring a notebook to these broadcasts if you're serious about this. Write down that it's 95% of your mind that is creating your reality, of your mind that you're unaware of, your subconscious, guys. So if you wonder, okay, I've been trying this, why isn't it working? Or why can't I seem to change my habits? Or why am I still procrastinating? Or why don't I know what I'm doing wrong? I'll tell you why you don't know what you're doing wrong. Because your life is being run by that 95% of your mind that is unconscious to you. You're not even aware of it. You're not aware of your subconscious beliefs. You're not aware of why you're making what choices. You're not aware of it. And so you have to begin bringing those relevant aspects to the surface. And how do we do that? By spending time in nature, away from the programming, the same programming that has gotten you where you are. By being the gatekeeper of your mind, by taking radical responsibility. And when you have an argument with someone, being like, okay, what was my part in this that I'm suffering? Because somewhere in there, there's always your responsibility. Maybe they came after you. Maybe they won't leave you alone. Maybe they owe you something. Whatever your reasons are, they're excuses. Somewhere in there, you had a choice not to suffer or to change how you handle that situation. So, just that's a lot. That's like what I would have shared an entire mastermind. So you guys aren't going to retain that if it's new, and you're not going to apply it all. But take some of it as a summary and know that there's always hope. There's always the option. And this is about you stepping into your power, not leaning into all the things that are trying to get money out of you and that are just trying to use your pain and suffering for financial benefit on their part, right? And test it out and try it out for yourself. You don't need all these fancy things. You don't need 1,000 crystals and all of these ceremonies and all that. You don't actually need it. but maybe your journey, where your mindset is and how you've been programmed, is going to inch its way to that. And maybe you'll never get past that. Maybe you'll always use those things. Maybe you enjoy using those things. But there's nothing wrong with that either. You're in physical form. Just make sure that you're not relying on like one particular thing to be the magic pill, because it doesn't exist other than your self-awareness and stepping into your power.
Right.
How's that for a summary?
That's a great summary. Way to
I
end
may
it.
not be able to get my video on, but I can do that.
Yeah. Well, that was very great. So thank you so much for sharing. And
guys, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Let's remind you about that. It's tiny and we're trying to grow it, but we sometimes forget to ask people to share that, because that's going to really be a platform where we can do a lot of other things for people on there.
Right, without having to put a whole lot of more effort into all the other things that we're already doing. So,
well, it's easy to share. YouTube has some benefits. It's easy to do things with that YouTube, and it's going to give us some different options to serve the audience than the Facebook. So, anyway,
wonderful. Well, again, thanks for tuning in, checking us out. Like, subscribe, share, all those things. The Enhance Your World show on Facebook and YouTube. And until next week, continue on, my friends. Much love and gratitude for everything you are, do, and choose to be. So we'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Weird, I can't see you.